Alright, let's get into this. The good old days of Call of Duty, when it took itself seriously. Let's go.
Search and destroy. Let's do this.
Oh yeah, I remember.
You're the last one. Complete the...
I remember these levels back in good old Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2. Man, that game was the bomb. I tell you what. It was not the first Call of Duty I played, but it was the first Call of Duty I played the multiplayer for. And whew, was that great. Oh, I could never get a tactical nuke though. My favorite map though, it was Rust. I liked the close quarter combat. What can I say? It was fun. Just running around with like the P90 and shit. Whew. Good old days. Good old days.
The mission. Good job, team. Get ready for the next round.
Alright. And then this is what we have.
FRE AK-47. Follow the queen.
How much do you guys think Nicki Minaj got paid to do that? Because I can tell you this, it's probably way too much money. Way too much money that she got paid. Yeah, good old days.
There used to be a time when Call of Duty got made fun of for becoming too Hollywood, kind of like the Michael Bay of video games.
It
but
was.
At the same time, it was still
badass.
serious and did its own thing very well. The story and theme it was trying to convey felt more grounded, or at least it felt more impactful. And then when you went into multiplayer,
it did not. It did not feel impactful. It felt like you said, it was Michael Bay. Like, come on, Transformers. Michael Bay Transformers was not impactful. Yeah, you saw cool military guys shooting shit, getting blown up. But let's be real, it wasn't impactful. I mean, fuck, I feel like I was just playing a video game version of Die Hard or the A-Team. You know, it's just cool military guys, G.I. Joes basically. You know, guys saved the world. I mean, come on, the United States being invaded by Russia? And what, it doesn't cause nuclear war immediately? Oh, so unbelievable.
it
I'll
felt
let him talk.
connected. You weren't worried about seeing a few Nicki Minaj's running around, and instead, it was just two armies fighting each other in a location that made sense for the most
Slay
part.
Queen.
Sure, none of what I will talk about will affect gameplay. Doesn't affect how well the game runs. And it sounds like a stupid thing to gripe about, right? But there's nothing wrong with preferences. That's something we should talk about when it's the game we get to enjoy after all. Call of Duty has changed things that I think just give it a silly look and atmosphere. And this falls mostly in the multiplayer, but a little in other modes too.
Tone is very important, especially when it comes to immersion in a video game. For example, Cyberpunk, the game I'm playing currently right now in my own time, has a very good tone. I feel like I'm in the world. When I play Call of Duty, when I did play Call of Duty, I should say, I did not feel like I was in that world. You know, it was kind of just like, yeah, I'm playing a video game. That's it. You know, it's like trying to play Wolfenstein 3D. Doom, like the original Doom, like an old style video game. It's like, yeah, you know, you're in a video game, okay? It's not immersive. It's not like, oh, this is the real world. No, it's a video game. Alright? The immersion was not there. And that was especially noticeable in the multiplayer, where you just had basically just arcade levels of shooting and level design. Just didn't feel like I was in like an actual location in the real world. It felt like a level because they were all designed the same. It was 3 lanes. You can go down the left way, the right way, or down the middle. And that was it. Every map was the same. Yeah, maybe there's new obstacles, or you have to hop over a ledge or climb a ladder to get to this one area, but I mean, it was still all the same. Part of the reason why I stopped playing Call of Duty.
No one disagrees when the highest priority should be set on making the game satisfying to play. But with each video game that is successful, it typically has a charm that makes the game feel more proper. If you were to boot up Modern Warfare 2, the original one, and you just sat there in the menu for a little bit, what type of mood does it put you in?
Exactly. This was what I was saying. The tone. The tone is so important.
Thinking, yeah, this is Modern Warfare. You can identify it by its music, the background, and the images correlating to each mode. Then when you think back on each game, you remember it by what was conveyed. Modern Warfare was exact.
Yeah, this right here is what I'm talking about. It's like, this is Michael Bay. I mean, it makes no sense. What, you're just going down on snowmobiles, shooting guys with a machine gun pistol. I mean, that does not happen in real life. This is James Bond, Michael Bay, you know, craziness. It's Zack Snyder.
Exactly what you would think. It was a modern take on war, and you got that feeling throughout every single mode you played. What I'm trying to get at is a theme.
Yeah, we can put a pin in that.
Unified theme. You shouldn't ever underestimate the power of this. A theme can help immerse you into the game. I for sure want to be immersed. Don't you? Jumping around from campaign to Spec Ops to then
so
multiplayer,
fucking cool.
It all had a similar look. The battlefield of an army against another army helped immerse you into the game.
Fighting in Washington, D.C., that was so cool when I was a little lad fighting in Washington, D.C. against the Russians and fighting to save America.
You were just another soldier,
the good old days.
Not an operator fighting other operators.
Was this
Especially
Overwatch?
A Nicki Minaj operator.
Cleavage.
Her being in Call of Duty kind of just lives rent-free in my head at this point. I, for one, prefer playing as soldiers that I don't know anything about, but have a cool aesthetic to them. I definitely don't mind campaign characters being in there either, but I think it's much better when everything just makes sense. Playing as
well, the big part of it was cosmetics, you know, the rise of microtransactions, where they have to get as much money out of you as humanly possible. Well, how do you do that? Well, cosmetics. It doesn't affect gameplay, but people still love to spend money on that stuff. So, just invest more into cosmetics, and, well, you can get different characters, and they can put different outfits on. And, you know, the whole shebang, X, Y, and Z. You can get more and more money. It's like gacha systems. You know, you gotta milk the whales out. You gotta wring them out.
Specific armies against other armies isn't just all about their character look either. It can leak into several elements. One of those being the announcers. Do you remember when each faction would have their own announcer and actually sounded like they belonged there? Some would give their...
Yeah, they spoke with a generic accent, is what he meant when they said they belonged there. The Tails guys spoke with like a thick Middle Eastern accent. The Russian guys spoke with a thick Russian accent. The British guys spoke with a British accent. The Americans spoke with an American accent. That's what he means.
Heart and soul into the callouts.
We've been EMP'd! Electronics are down!
The enemy's taking our flag! Friendly Predator missile incoming. Friendly IC-130 in the air.
British.
Enemy IC-130 above.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
The battle is lost, but the war
The
has
Russian.
just begun.
Tactical nuke inbound. No! They've captured our flag! Enemy has all positions! Fight back! Counter UAV up. They're
American
blind.
back again.
IC-130 above! No! They've captured our flag!
I just love hearing
The
the
Tails
announcers
one. Op4. What a dumbass name.
every game because they fleshed out the atmosphere of each match. To help maps feel more unique, there wouldn't be just any random faction thrown in. It would be a more proper faction for the map that made sense.
Yes. Oh man, they definitely changed that Wehrmacht. Let's go back.
A more proper faction for the map that made sense.
The Wehrmacht. Oh wow, I didn't know they had bad censorship back then in World at War. I never played World at War multiplayer. Okay, I'll take the Wehrmacht. Right on me. What the hell is that? This is the most realistic one right
And
there.
the games would typically have several options to select
Marine
from when it
Raiders.
came to maps. You look at a game like Black Ops 1 and you have several different options that would change dependent on the map you played. The soldier you specifically played as was determined by certain perks you had
Oh my
selected.
god.
But what do you
That was so cool. That was so cool. And the different perks you selected. The first one, for example, flak jacket right here underneath the frag grenade. That's what chose what your character actually looked like. I remember that specifically. Because I thought the flak jacket guy looked so cool, so I always wanted to go with flak jacket.
What do you see when you browse through all of these characters?
Same thing with Hardline. I mean, that guy just looks like a badass Marine. Good old Vietnam era Marine.
They all make sense. They fit the theme, and they look like real soldiers. You have 6 different factions with some variety when going between different environments. There also used to be different music themes when starting a match.
Search and destroy.
Oh, so good.
Search and destroy.
So good.
Search and destroy.
Yeah. One thing, I can't remember if Call of Duty ended up doing this, but Battlefield, at least the older Battlefields, like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, they would have faction-specific weapons that you can only use. Like, for example, in the Battlefield games, in like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, if you wanted to start out with like an AK at the very low level as like your basic weapon, you had to play as like the Russian faction. While if you played as the Americans, you didn't have access to the baseline AK. And I don't know if Call of Duty ever did this, but I kind of wish they did, at least back then, like 2010, 2011. The good old days, the golden years. They might have eventually started doing that, but that would have been after I stopped playing. Last Call of Duty I played was the Modern Warfare remake. And, yeah, I played that and didn't play any more Call of Duties after that.
Search and destroy.
Op 40. Forget how Op 40 was.
Even if you didn't think much of this while playing, you could just feel the difference when hopping between the older Call of Duty games to the newer ones. They're just...
It's all way too video game-y. I mean, I know that sounds dumb, but look at this. It's all too colorful. There's too much going on the map. You know, there's points showing up everywhere. There's big words that are popping up. And I know that sounds like a dumb argument and a dumb complaint, but it is. It takes you out of the immersion unless you can have like a reasonable justification for all that stuff popping up. For example, let's go back to the old Call of Duties.
Starting a match. Environments.
Hold on. Like this one. Look how minimalistic it is. Let me just move my little guy. Look how minimalistic it is. Alright, you have the ammo in the right corner. It's very small. Very small. And then you have the points in the left corner. And then the map in the top left. And then when something pops up, it's at the top. Alright? Very minimalistic. There's plenty of space on the screen that isn't covered by stuff. And now we fast forward to...
several different...
Oh, whoops. Fast forward to this. This. Look at that. So very much more clutter onto the screen. Where more of the screen is still taken up. Yeah, it's still in the corners, but now it's the entire outline. Versus how it was back in 2010 on Black Ops 1.
There just isn't sense of this anywhere in the multiplayer. All random operators that make the game look like one big giant ad.
Overwatch.
I understand microtransactions are a thing, and that's a huge way companies make their money, but
not
what's stopping
pre-watch.
them from having boundaries in what they make? Instead of releasing Homelander...
Oh my god, those fucking Homelander and Call of Duty. Oh my god. What the fuck is this shit? Why... Alright, you know what? Just get this off my screen.
Release some cool ranger or anything that fits the theme of the game.
See?
Multiplayer used to mold into
So much
the
better.
theme. Now you jump into it and it's all a jumbled mess of random things.
Yes.
Call of Duty's about war and the events from them. It used to be about committing to a theme and staying true to it. If it was World War II, then you would get a darker horror take on it with something like World at War. If it was during modern times, then we would be seeing higher stakes with more advanced weaponry. Bringing back the
Tails
aesthetic
getting nukes.
would help change the tone of the game and give it a true theme that it could be known for.
Ooh.
For a mode like Zombie,
I liked playing zombies a little bit, but my cousin was really into zombies. I I kind of got bored of zombies. Now, I eventually did get into zombies more, and I do like playing zombies nowadays, but back then, I kind of got bored real quick with zombies. And now, modern zombies is just too much stuff. It's an entire chore to play zombies. To set up the map, you have to watch like 10 YouTube videos to learn what the hell you're supposed to do. And then, you gotta spend like 30 minutes to an hour actually setting up the map and getting everything unlocked before you can actually go and play the map. And it's just so much time. You know, I remember back in the days where the most hard work you had to put in was turn the power on and connect the teleporters. You know, those were the good old days. It was Origins. Black Ops 2 really started it. Even with Transit, with those buildables, which were annoying. But then Origins took it off the edge. And yeah, I know, controversial opinion, but Origins started ruining zombies. It was on downhill then. That was the point of no return, was Origins. Especially when people fell in love with Origins. Ugh.
You could easily think that would be crazy.
I just got canceled.
Displaying the brutality of World War II. It doesn't make sense. It isn't realistic, but it also used to stay true to itself. It was its own universe after all, and it did take itself seriously. Zombies as a mode was something different. It wasn't replacing anything and didn't derive from the experience.
Look at all those textures popping in. You could just see through the building. Why would he show this fucking angle? Disgusting.
Experience of others. Multiplayer would still play the exact same, and so would campaign. Nothing would ever really bleed over to those modes. You could also say that there was an invasion in the mode of zombies. The invasion of operators that seemingly have less soul than a basic soldier or character that look like they would belong there. The campaign has started molding into zombies with all our characters being in the universe now. Nothing feels unique anymore. It all is starting to feel overwhelmingly generic.
I remember when they introduced a campaign mode to zombies. I think it was Black Ops 3? Was it? When they introduced the zombies campaign mode? And it was just old campaign. Was it Black Ops 4? No, it was Black Ops 3. It was Black Ops 3, yeah. And it was just go through old campaign areas just with zombies in it. And it was so boring. Oh my god. I played like the first level and then never played it again. Just stick to normal zombies at that point.
That's pretty much where I think Call of Duty is at. The gameplay is an entirely different beast, but when we talk about its charm with each game's theme, a lot of it has just become bland and doesn't make any sense. It may seem like something small, and it's definitely something not a lot of people would care about, but it does make a bigger difference than most would think. You can make fun of older Call of Duty all you want, but it used to have themes that it stuck true to. They were
good old
serious
knifing.
about displaying different eras of war, and when it came to alternate modes such as zombies, they approached it as its own thing. Booting up a Call of Duty game used to come with a distinguishable look that you could quickly identify it by. That would be carried throughout in several different ways. But the part where COD can still be considered serious would have to be only the campaign at this point. The story for the most part is still serious, and basically the only mode that I think actually takes the theme of the game seriously. I still get immersed into the experience and it feels proper, but there is something you could pick apart from it. Everything can feel too hero focused. There was moments where you would again...
That is one issue that I did have with the campaigns. Now, it was fun. You know, Michael Bay, I'm the main character, just cut through an army of guys like I'm John Wick. But it did not feel very realistic. Like, come on. I have to go and, like, Call of Duty 4, the original Modern Warfare, which is from the Golden Era. Literally, the main objective at the end of the game is to stop a crazy rogue Russian terrorist from firing Russia's entire nuclear arsenal at the eastern seaboard of the United States and starting World War III. And you have to, it's a race against time to stop him. That is one of the most unrealistic things I've ever heard of in my life. Yet that's how it was. That was the campaign. And it played it off because, well, it's James Bond, you know? It's Michael Bay. It's an action movie, but you're the main character. It had a military theme and everything, but it wasn't trying to be Saving Private Ryan. At least World at War, you felt like an average soldier. You weren't the hero. But Modern Warfare and pretty much every Call of Duty afterwards, you were the hero.
Just be another soldier. You could be anyone, and you jump into their perspective as they fight through the events of the game. There was a balance of this. The storytelling often had you jumping from character to character to eventually lead to the ending of the game where everything would unfold. So it had a certain way about it that made the story feel more grand in scale. Like
from
these
the
events
remake.
were truly more than just our main cast of.
The original game did not look like this. The original game looked like ass. You just climb out of a helicopter and then you sit there for like 5-10 minutes and everything's just nuked around you, and then you just fade to black. Well, fade to white, actually.
Of characters. It made characters like Ramirez become a living legend amongst fans, even though he was a silent protagonist with little backstory.
Yeah,
but it also had guts.
Yeah, no.
Things like gore and torture scenes like in World at War makes the game feel more serious. A mission like No Russian left impacts on the players and went as far as being controversial in the media. Things like
when you got to commit acts of terrorism in a video game, and you were actively encouraged of doing it. The good old days before everyone became scared and cowardice to mass shootings and acts of terrorism. It's called a video game, it's not real. Seriously. I mean, what, I played GTA 5 once and now suddenly I want to go and commit vehicular manslaughter? No. It's ridiculous.
Like that set the dangers in his
Though I do want to become like Hunter Biden. Play GTA 5 in real life.
Story, and makes a villain someone to not take lightly. Plot armor on characters also plays things too safely and doesn't present any danger to our cast if we always know they're going to end up surviving it. I think that, in a way, has creeped into the game as well.
Oh, they introduced soap into it.
Call of Duty took itself seriously, it was able to captivate gamers across all modes they would play.
Yeah.
It stuck to its guns and made games that were fondly remembered by the charm it provided in each of its modes. Although this may not be a big concern, it's not something to forget, and I think it's fair to be vocal about. If it wasn't for an overlapping theme, I think older Call of Duty games would have had a hard time going down as being iconic.
Yeah, good video. Glad I watched it. Yeah, the good old days of Call of Duty were good. The golden years, like 15 years, my god. But they had their own issues. I mean, it's like the older... It's the best example is Michael Bay. If you ever seen the Michael Bay Transformers movies, it's like, yeah, the original 3 Transformers movies were bad, but they were better than Age of Extinction and The Last Night. And if you know, you know just how much of a train wreck those last 2 movies were. And that's how Call of Duty was. Well, is. Where the old games, they had their issues, don't get me wrong. But they were somehow better than the newer games, which have even more issues. And hasn't actually fixed any of the old issues that the old games had. So it's just worse all around.